When is it the right time to leave that 9 to 5? You want to start your own hustle, your own business? You want to become an entrepreneur? That's next on StonePark Podcast. Dream, build, connect. Welcome once again. I am your host, David. Across from me, got my co-host, Carlos.
David, what's going on, man? We're back at it.
We're back at it.
That's right, man.
You and me and you.
Us.
Us again. And you got the Modelo tee.
Today it's my turn.
Yeah, we both have the same. Well, I have a hoodie. He has a T-shirt.
Yep.
And we never want to dress the same because that would be messed up. I'll have to go back home, I guess, and put a new shirt on or something like that.
Right.
Let's get into it. Do you think entrepreneurs are made or born?
It's a little bit of both. I think that you can be born into it, just born into, just receiving the torch, inheritance from like a family, and you just kind of like back in those medieval days where you were like your marriage was already arranged, So same thing, kind of like you have to be a king if you're the firstborn.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. I think that it can be born into, but now in the new age, 2024, you know what I mean? You could develop into an entrepreneur.
But even as a king, or when you're prepping to be a king, you're still made.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you have to go through it.
Do you think that people are just born like that? Do you think
like
people
with the gift?
Yeah, the gift.
I believe so.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think more made.
You can learn to be that, but I do believe that you can also be gifted, from birth.
And I think that's the point that I want to make is a lot of people think that they could just do it. And it doesn't work like that. Everyone thinks that, I could be an entrepreneur. I'm going to start this hustle. It's actually a process.
It's a process, but anyone could do it. It can.
Yeah.
I don't. There is a process, and it's not an easy process, but anyone could do it if they put their mind into it and actually go for it.
Go for it. Have the right mentorship.
Yeah. But anyone could do it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't shy someone away from it like, this is, this is something that is just impossible to do, or it's so tough. Don't do it. No, put fear. No, it's something that it is tough.
Mm-hmm.
Can't sugarcoat that. There is a process, but you can do it.
I like how you said fear. So that's pretty much the reason why we're doing this episode is the fear of letting go. The fear of letting go of that security or that 9 to 5, whatever you want to call it.
That safety.
When you made your move or the decision that you wanted to start your own business, what age were you at and what made you?
So I think I was in my early 20s. I was probably 20, 22, 23-ish. And I believe I was working in Home Depot at that time. And it was a tough time.
Hold up. Every time, every episode, you have worked at another place.
Yeah.
How many jobs have you had?
I've had a lot of jobs. I have a lot of experiences with different people. And that's one of the things about me, that I've been in different positions, different places, different titles, different everything. You know what I mean? And it's experiences.
How many jobs do you think you've had?
I would say probably about 6.
No, more than that. Because I can 6. I can name 6. Name 6. Hold up. Rent-A-Center, Burger King, Home Depot, you just said, King Street Blues, Balducci's. I'm at 5.
So probably about 8. Yeah, probably about 8.
All right.
Yeah, and it's So Home Depot was one of that was actually, it wasn't bad, but just seeing my family have a business and my mother have a business, just made me, like say to myself, like, man, like if my mother, has this business and with the way more less opportunities that I've been given, why am I clocking in here when she don't have to do that? She does it for herself.
Can you talk more about your mom?
Yeah, so my mother came from El Salvador in the early 80s. She's from the rural areas of El Salvador, like the country. And, her education level, there was the equivalent basically of like 7th, 8th grade, because there was no like school nearby. Like she had to like walk, like I think it was like 3 miles or something like that just to get to school because there was nothing else. So she came here, she had 5 boys. I'm the oldest of 5. And, worked 2 jobs, and back in California, and when we moved here, we worked together at Balducci's. She was a produce department manager. She had a moment where she just said, you know what, I need to get out of this 9 to 5 and I want to have my own business. The thing is, there was a lady that used to come shop there that worked as a maid at some big, house. And she would, talk to my mom all the time and be like, oh, yeah, I do the cleaning for the house and stuff like that. And gave my mother the idea of like, maybe you should go into like, like the maid service, kind of like cleaning service. And that's what gave my mother kind of an idea to just want to start her own business. And, my father and I backed her up on it, so she went to go find a job for cleaning services to learn. But my mother's attitude and the way she carries herself, the owners or the people, the management of that company, they made her a supervisor without having no experience at all. But just because of the way that she would carry herself, the way that she is, they told her, Rosa, you're not, we don't see you kind of like the working ladies, look, we're going to teach you how to supervise them, how to run a crew, and, that way. So she first learned the paperwork, the office side of the cleaning business, because she was the one kind of, talking to customers and doing all the, and then started supervising and then learning how the cleaning process. So she learned it all, the company was called Six Penny. And, one day she said, all right, I'm ready, 100% I'm ready. And she took the leap, and that was in 2006, 2007, 2024 right now. She's still doing it, doing very well for herself, and very proud of her. You know what I mean? And seeing her take that leap with very, very little English, education, 7th grade level, in a country that it's not hers, jumping out there and becoming a business owner with no degree, with no nothing, just kind of like going through it and seeing her succeed. Yeah,
that's cool. So then you saw that, and then you're working these jobs.
I saw that, yeah. So I saw that and seeing her grind, and I call her in the morning, and then she's like, oh yeah, I got 5 houses today, blah, blah. And in my mind, I'm like, well, and I'm sitting here in this break room, and
oh man, the break room.
Yeah, you know how it is, being in those break rooms.
Did they have like vending machines in there?
Yeah.
Some knucklehead didn't get their M&Ms right, so then they bash it, and then everyone's stealing out of it. Took a couple honey buns in my day.
Yeah. So being in the break room and then talking to her, and then she's just like, oh yeah, I got this amount of houses today, I'm gonna be working here. In my mind, I'm like, man, like, what am I doing here? Like, I should be next to her, helping her with her business. And then, I helped her a lot and figuring out like, paperwork and the insurance stuff and things that, I didn't know either. I was doing the research for her. So I was also kind of like, teaching myself at the same time, So I was rolling with the punches as well as just as her, so, but I wasn't applying it, I was just clocking in and clocking out for someone else, and it's not, it's always in the back of my mind. I just knew it was like, nah, man, like I have a cleaning business with my mother, and I should be there backing her up 100%, and yeah, I just said, you know what, I got to start.
Yeah.
And then in 2011, I officially got my own paperwork. I got my own license. I got everything, and I started my own cleaning business.
Very cool story. Very cool story. And a lot of people, they talk about it, but it's another thing to actually take the steps to move on.
Yeah. No, but it's tough to let go because, like you said, when you have that 9 to 5 and you're so used to that paycheck and you just the security, right? And the uncertainty, right, of like being an entrepreneur and having to chase that dollar because you don't know where it's coming from. You got to go get it.
Yeah.
You got to make it happen.
Yeah.
It's not easy. So there is a process. That is the fear that, that is there.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that it's not easy, man. But it is possible if you apply it and you really kind of, go through the motions.
In your situation, you would say that you were made.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I wasn't born into it.
Yeah.
By far.
But not even born into it, more so it just so happened that your mom was hustling and you picked up on that and you said to yourself, listen, what am I doing? I got to make a move.
Yeah.
And then probably at that time you had a couple kids.
Yeah, same thing. Like my uncle, my mother's brother, same thing. He said, hey, Rosa, how are you doing this? My mother's like, come over to the house. I'll talk to you. I'll show you how to do it. Carlos will come over. He's going to show you. He's going to help you. He got restaurants now and big buildings that he's doing. He do this same thing. He's from the same place as my mother, like completely hustlers. You know what I mean? They're just entrepreneurs now, like got stores. Like you got to damn, like it's crazy. You know what I mean?
Cool.
And it's all just from listening, paying attention, and grinding and going through it.
Yeah.
Because you do go through the ringer. You know what I mean? But you have to stick through it.
Yeah. Mine came at, so really my only job really was UPS. My
That's the only one.
Well, I mean, I had like I was an ice cream scooper, like little jobs here and there. I was a host at the place called
well, those count because I was in Burger King for 2 days and you counting that one.
All right, you got me. You got me. All right, so I did have
because it couldn't be that you only had one job in your whole life. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, I guess one official job that I was ready to make this a career.
Yeah,
that I stayed for multiple years, and I honestly was putting effort to grow with it.
Yeah.
So when I was there, I had, Mike was my best friend and we were coming up with ways to make money. And one of the things that we were thinking about was real estate. And we flipped our first property when I was 19. I was 18 when I started UPS. So at 18 years old, I think it took me maybe 6 months to become a supervisor, and I was hustling. And I was really, really, really focused, extremely focused, and people caught on to that. And I was lucky to meet a woman named Demita Goldsmith. And when you say a last name, that means that they have impact in your life.
Yep.
She helped me, and she was real cool. I think I'm Facebook friends with her. I should message her.
So mine was Lisa Capobianco from King Street Blues.
Yeah, so she was real cool. She believed in me. She believed in a lot of people, but she always told me, work hard and I'm going to get you to the positions that you want. She said, give me a few years and I'm going to get you there.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was. So that was on my mind. And then I had Mike, my best friend, business partner, always saying, hey, man, you need to quit that job.
Always in your ear, man.
Always in my ear. Always saying, hey, man, that's not going to get you anywhere. Anytime that I almost didn't want to tell him what was going on at work because he would use it against me and be like, man,
See, I told you so. Yeah.
so we're over there flipping houses. I'm doing UPS. I'm working like a madman. And that's the time to do it when you're young. So I'm 19, 20 years old. And I think I left around 23, maybe even 24. I was there for a minute.
Yeah.
And within that time, I had three, I think they called them district managers or building managers, whatever. So I had three of them. And the first one, Bob Zeidler, I didn't like him. And I think it was because I was just young and I didn't understand how to work for a company. I was a good worker, but I always had ideas and I was always trying to change things and I was always trying to buck at him. And he's double, triple my age. He's like, who is this guy? Always like biting at his kneecaps. And we just never got along. But if you ever heard this or if I ever saw him, I'm sorry. Now I understand. I was a kid back then. But he gets shipped off, and then this other guy, Curtis Shepard, steps in. Curtis Shepard is the opposite. Dude was cool. He would come kind of disheveled to work. He would take off his jacket, flip the tie, and start working, and inspiring.
Get his hands dirty.
He was just a cool guy. And I guess I was hanging around the wrong management members at the time. So he calls me in. He's like, David, get in my office. I said, okay. So I go in the office, and dude just stares at me. And he has a Snickers bar on the corner of the table. And he grabs a Snickers bar and eats that joint right in front of me. And I'm thinking, like, what is this guy doing? He's eating it and looking at me and eating it and finishing it. I don't know if it was a king size, regular size. I know it wasn't a bite size. He took his time with it. Wiped his mouth, threw away the wrapper. He said, David, you're hanging around the wrong people. So I'm going to tell you, you could disassociate yourself with these people, and you know who they are, and have success. Or you can hang with them, and you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to be in that box that you're in right now forever. And I said, that's it? And he said, that's it. Kept it moving. He gets shipped off. And then this guy, Brian, comes in. I don't remember his last name. Hence, the people that mean something to you, you remember their names. I don't remember his last name. He's the new sheriff in town. He thinks he's Tony Soprano. He even has Tony Soprano's truck. But he didn't have the Suburban. He had the Tahoe, but it was the burgundy one, the first season, second season, third season of Sopranos, the one that he was rocking. Trench coat. He's big. The way he walks, he has these. His fingers were like hot dogs, but he never got them dirty. Just everything clean and everyone doing everything for him, and people are just kissing butt left and right. But I wouldn't. And also, I got 1 foot out the door with real estate and Mike, and I have 1 foot with UPS. I'm trying to figure out which way I'm going to go. I'm telling Mike everything he wants to hear. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to leave. And UPS helped us get mortgages for these homes that we were flipping. So that was kind of the excuse that I would give Mike. I'm like, dude, how are we going to get these mortgages? Because we didn't know about hard money back then. I don't know if it even existed or if we qualified. So we were getting mortgages. And I was using UPS and my title and all that stuff to get the money for the houses. So Tony Soprano, aka Brian, he's walking around. He doesn't like me because I'm not feeling him. And it's almost like I knew what he was about. He was insecure. He just looked like an insecure man. And I knew that at, 22, 23 years old. And he would tell me things and I'd do them, but I wouldn't do it with a smile. I had a little stank on my face because he just wasn't kind if you weren't really about what he was trying to do. And what he was trying to do was act like he was working. He wasn't a real worker because the real worker was Curtis Shepard. That was the dude. Then I understood the Snickers bar and him talking to a young man. He's trying to relate to me. So he had to eat a Snickers to figure out what to say to change my life, right? And you only got a minute or so. So I think he did a good job. Anyway, it comes a time where I get called into the office and Brian needs a favor from me because everyone is busy. David, I need you to do this. And he doesn't even ask for a favor. I need you to do this. You need to do this. And I said, I can't. He's like, why can't you? Well, I mean, you're asking me to drive 45 minutes away. I got to be somewhere at this time. So you're not for the team. You're not for this. You're not for that. And I said, I never said that. And we're kind of going back and forth, and I'm sure I'm giving him a little attitude, but he's definitely disrespecting me. And he says, you know that job you want? And and I never told him about it, but I'm sure they figure out, they know the dirt. And I didn't say anything. I just turned around and looked at him. He said, yeah, good luck with getting that. And I knew right then, I said, it's over. It's over. And it wasn't ego. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to show you and this and that. It was over because I needed that. I needed that to take away the fear. Take away the fear of the security of the paycheck, of the benefits, whatever I was getting at the time. I needed that. And you know what's funny? I should remember his last name because he actually helped me. But I don't remember his last name because he's a bum. He's a bum. He's a sucker.
Yeah.
And that was my moment. That was my moment. I felt it right there. And I think a week or so later, I put in my 2 weeks and adios. So,
wow.
Yeah, that was that.
Sad. Sometimes people push you, and they don't know what they do. You know what I mean? And little did he know that he actually did a good thing.
I ain't a killer, but don't push me.
Yeah, straight up. I'm telling you, man. That's like the perfect. That's like the perfect soundbite. You know what I mean? For it, like seriously.
You know what's funny is I'm a suburban guy, man. Look, I'm privileged. I didn't grow up in the ghetto. I didn't have hard times like that. Like, yeah, my mom didn't have that much money, but we got by. My dad was in my life. I had it pretty good. And here I am listening to Tupac and Biggie and acting like I can
come with me, Hail Mary. All eyes on me.
And I could probably put money that when I had that conversation, I got into my whip. I probably had some of that going on, and I'm just
like yeah.
God help us all, man.
Oh man, it's all good, man. Sometimes it's the music, man. It influences. Sometimes the music gives you attitude. All that. You know what I mean? So at that moment when that guy gave you all that, you had a little Tupac in you.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You gave him that Tupac look, like, oh really?
Yeah.
Like, all right.
This dude, oh man, he was such a jackass. He would come in and he'd have a wad. He really thought he was Tony Soprano. He'd be giving like 20s and stuff to people like, hey man, do this and do that, and tipping people. Who does that at UPS?
Yeah, right.
The dude had a wad like maybe a couple G's, and he's over there tipping people. And he was trying to do that with me. He was like, oh, well, what if I gave you this? What if I gave you that? And I just kept on saying no. And he just kept on getting angry and angry and angrier. And his face, man, the dude had no neck, right? And when he got mad, he didn't turn red. He turned purple. And the dude was turning purple. And I was like, what are you going to do? Like, fight me, man?
Yeah.
And I just kept on saying no. And I'm sure I was like, I had some attitude on it,
well,
man.
I mean, it got to that point. Yeah, so I mean, you're a man at the end of the day too. Yeah. You know what I mean? Come on.
So that's what we're trying to say, that there are certain moments. For you, it was less stressful in terms of interactions with people. It was more of like self-reflection. Yes. You're sitting in a break room eating a honey bun and a Mountain Dew and thinking to yourself, is this what life's about?
Yeah, like, why am I here?
And then you see, one of your worker buddies. Worker buddies are the best. Don't get me wrong.
Oh man, look, man, the break room is sometimes one of the funnest spots, man.
But I remember there was a dude. Oh man, Larry, because I did like him. Larry Gibson. The dude was like 7'2". The dude should have been playing basketball. He was a driver for UPS, like an air package driver. He would do the odds and ends. And I remember he was eating a hot dog. And when you're young, you can crush those hot dogs, but when you get older, man, they catch up with you. And I remember looking at him, and he wasn't too young, and he's crushing that hot dog, and I'm just looking at him. I'm like, yo, man, that might be me. So little things like that. When you're at those job settings and you see the older cats, they got a lot of knowledge, but you should be looking at it like, yo, you might not want to turn up like that. You don't want to be the old cat in the Home Depot job, telling you, war stories and this and that. You want to be the young guy getting that knowledge and then scooting on over.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, let's switch it up a little bit. Give me a couple entrepreneurs you admire and why. It could be anyone.
The first one I would say, kind of spoke already about it. It's my mother. 100%, my mother. For the reasons that I already, said earlier. She's just someone that I've just admire. You know what I mean? Just because when you are not given the opportunities that I have been given, you know what I mean? And see her succeed and still do it years later, and just the evolution of her from where she came from, just it's motivational. You know what I'm saying? And it's amazing. So, needless to say, for sure, my mother, number one. And because of her, it's why my company with my wife is also very successful. She trained my wife.
That's what I wanted to ask that, because I admire your wife. She's a true go-getter, and I know that she's very passionate in what she does.
Yeah.
And with any entrepreneur, you need a good mentor. So that's why I was going to ask.
100%. Yeah. So when I got with my wife, I said, all right, she was working in the hotel industry, and I said, I have a cleaning business. There's my mother's also involved. If you want to be your own boss, you could join, the cleaning business. My mother would train you. You're going to have to let go of what you know and go into,
the moment.
Into the moment.
That's the moment.
And then, of course, same thing, same fear set in. Oh, well, how could I leave this? Everything, right? And my mother brought her in. She went through the ropes, you know what I mean? And she branched out, and now she's killing it. You know what I mean? She's completely killing it,
Yeah.
And my mother was the reason, you know what I mean? From the thought of like, hey, you know what? I want to do this. Will you guys back me on this? My father and I, back in 2006, 2007, to 2015 when my wife joined, and she did it. You know what I mean? So for 4 years, from 2011 to 2015, it was just by myself. I was just doing it on my own. But when my wife came in, like, it bumped up like crazy, because my wife was
she's like,
a different animal.
Yeah, she reminds me of the Energizer Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
That if you don't tell her to chill out, she'll just keep going.
Yeah. She's just a crazy go-getter.
Yeah.
So that's another person that I'm like just completely inspired by.
Man, you took this in a different way, but I like it. My two will start with Dame Dash. I love Dame Dash, and I bring him up because I never really liked him in the beginning. I was always a Jay-Z fan, obviously because he's the one that's doing the music. But during my entrepreneurship journey, or whatever you want to call it, I've listened to a lot of Dame Dash content.
Yeah.
I agree with him, man. The stuff that he says, the wild stuff that he says, I agree.
Yeah.
He's basically saying the things that people want to say or you want to hear, and he's just kind of exposing it. And he's always broke. He's always broke, like a true entrepreneur, always putting that money right back in. He did a podcast. I don't know. Were you able to watch it with
which one?
Patrick
Yeah,
David?
of course.
But with Dame Dash?
Oh, yeah.
So there was a question where Patrick David was asking him his net worth. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was basically zero. My
Yeah.
net worth
He's
is
like, I'm broke.
being a father,
Yep.
hanging with my kids, growing with my kids.
Yeah,
And,
but if you want to invest with me, come on, man, put some of your money in the line.
oh man, I loved his answer, man,
Yeah.
because he didn't shy away from it, because you can go on those cheesy sites like, how much is Dame Dash worth, and who knows how accurate that is.
Right.
But if you look, it's like something small, but he admits it, and he comes in there looking, sharp, and the only thing that throws me off is that and you could agree with this, that sometimes you got to mold, right? But he might be looking at that as being a sellout. You always got to be authentic. You always got to be yourself. I'm not like that. I'm more of, sometimes you just got to be quiet. Yeah. Sometimes you got to read the room. As far as an entrepreneur, I think of him. I really do. And I admire what he does. And especially the kid thing, that what he said about the kids. Mateo had a spring concert, and I loved it, man. It was the lower class, grades kindergarten to I guess 5th grade.
Yeah.
Man, all those kids dancing, singing together, having fun, and putting it out there. I loved it, man. There was a point at the end when they were giving props to the teacher that showed them the moves. The whole auditorium just screamed for this woman. It almost brought tears to my eyes. Really, yeah. Really. So I felt it, and that's what being a father's about, sharing those moments.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
So anyway, when he said that, I'm like, man, entrepreneurship is everything. It's business. It's life. It's like what we talk about on this podcast. And
yep.
Dame Dash is definitely top on that list. And going back to maybe his moment, if we want to go there, I don't know everything about him, but I know that his mom was an entrepreneur, kind of like you.
Yeah.
That he learned from his mom. He learned how to hustle from his mom. And when he got with Jay-Z and they were trying to shop him around to the major labels, no one was feeling Jay-Z because he was rhyming too fast. He was a little older, maybe just not as marketable.
Yeah.
And that's where Rockefeller was born.
Yep.
Or when it was born. They said, okay, we're going to have to do this ourselves.
Yep.
And I don't have to get into that story. There's lots of content on that. But that was, I think, his moment where he's like, look, man, we're going to have to do it on our own. And I'm sure he had many moments before that. Another entrepreneur, and it's totally different, but famous, is George Lucas. And people know George Lucas for Star Wars, obviously. But this dude is a straight entrepreneur. And he was made. His moment, he gets into a car accident at 18, and he decides that he has to go to school and take it serious. And he goes through junior college and goes to USC, I believe. They had a film school, and he loved film, just loved it. Made short movies that won awards, that got people interested, that led him to Francis Coppola, who's a big director. He's the one that did the Godfather series. And he was able to mingle with major studios. And his moment was when, he's dead broke, and he makes American Graffiti, and the studio doesn't like it. And he doesn't know what to do. So he goes to someone at Fox Studios and pitches the Star Wars idea. And he gets, I think, $20K to write the script. And while he's doing this, American Graffiti, even though not liked by the studios, was well received in the box office. And he had a percentage of either the net or the gross receipts. So that made him a millionaire. And he was able, so I think he was like under 30, but still, would you call him an entrepreneur? Directors are entrepreneurs, filmmakers are entrepreneurs, but not Dame Dash style. But I think what happened was when he finally got the buzz of being this director, and then finally he got the deal for Star Wars, the entrepreneur move was that his script was way too long. So that's why you have the 3 movies, the 3 original Star Wars movies. He had to break it up into 3 acts. So he only had the funding for that first movie. And on top of that, things like ILM, that is a company that he founded that is involved in almost all movies. That's where you get all your visual effects. He started that. THX, the sound, what you hear in the movie theaters, he made that.
Wow.
So but the real deal was when he negotiated his stake for Star Wars, because they thought it was a movie that was going to flop. They gave him the sequel rights to Star Wars, and they gave him all the merchandising rights. And the reason why he wanted that is he wanted to at least recoup money so he can make the other 2 films, because he thought that the first film wouldn't get good reviews or wouldn't get funded. So he wanted to make sure that he can make his entire 3-part movie. And it just so happens that Star Wars is more than well received. It makes like $1 billion the box office back in the day. And of course, he has a part of that. He has the sequel rights. He has the merchandising rights. And the rest is history. So I think that type of entrepreneurship was made. That it was his circumstance. Where a Dame Dash type of entrepreneurship, I almost want to say that Dame Dash could be anywhere in the world and he'll still be him. So was he born that way? No one will ever know. We don't know how God works. Like, you will be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But I know that from what I see in Dame Dash, it's just like that entrepreneur spirit that no matter where, no matter what, the moment with Jay-Z, I don't even think had to happen. He's going to do something.
You know, another one that's mine is Steve Jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Jobs is definitely one that
for sure
that I completely admire, and that his story is one that I've always like admired. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you from innovation, the way that technology is now. You know what I mean? Like, he changed the whole landscape. You know what I mean, of the world, and his vision was crazy. You know, from being adopted. You know what I mean? So, just starting off that, a lot of people feel like, that he was already, kind of didn't have the opportunities that we say, oh, I have mom and dad at home and stuff like that. To starting, right, the company and then getting fired from your own company.
That's wild.
You know what I mean? And then still,
and the comeback.
And yeah. And then, going out and starting at a second company, and you're such a beast, right, that your old company buys you because you're so, you're it. You're the it factor. You know what I mean? And then he starts Pixar. One of the major.
Well, I got a backstory for you on that. Pixar was actually started by George Lucas, so there's the connection there. When he did ILM, he had a bunch of people working for him, and everyone was creating. And I believe the original crew of Pixar was under George Lucas. The problem with it was George Lucas didn't have the time or energy to figure out a way to make money off them. Because remember, CGI was the groundbreaking.
Toy Story was one of the first, and it was amazing to this day. It's one of the biggest.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And not only that, but like Steve Jobs had his, business rival put money into his business.
Billy Gates.
You know what I mean?
Billy Gates.
Come on, man. How you gonna have McDonald's and then you have Burger King? Give me some money. You know what I mean? Like, what? So all that, man, it's crazy. And there's a lot to teach there, because it shows you that, like, burning bridges and connections, the network, that even though you might be competition, you could still work with each other. You know what I'm saying? And to this day, I mean, Samsung is the biggest competition to Apple, but Samsung makes the screens for the iPhone. You know what I mean? And they're competition. So it's just Steve Jobs is definitely one.
That's your boy.
One of the most amazing speeches that he ever did. Man, it was just so deep. He said in one of the speeches, it was man, I wouldn't want to butcher this because it was so amazing. But he said, like, every morning he would get up and look himself in the mirror and say, if today was my last day to be alive, what I'm gonna do today, am I happy with what I'm gonna do today?
Yeah, that's crazy. So yeah.
Like, if the answer is no multiple times, then you gotta change what you're doing. You gotta change what you're doing, because most of your life is gonna be based around what do you do for a living, So if your 9 to 5 is not the one that you want, it's not what's making you happy, it's not what it means, like it's not everything for you, you got to change. You know what I mean? You got to do your own thing. And that's one of the things that I always had in my mind, So Steve Jobs definitely is somebody that I looked up to, you know what I mean, a lot when it comes to entrepreneurship and just the mindset, you know what I mean? And that, yeah, you're going to fail, but so what?
Yeah, it's always cool listening to successful entrepreneurs talk about their failures, because then it makes you feel that they're human and that you're on the right path.
Success is not permanent, so you are going to fail.
Yep.
Maybe more than one time. It is just what it is. There's no permanent success. Like, it's not permanent. So you got to know, that it's going to happen. You know what I mean? And you just got to know how to come back out of it. You know what I mean? And just keep trucking. Yeah. What
does it mean to invest in yourself?
It means a lot, it takes a lot. If you don't believe in yourself, then who will? You know what I mean? Like, you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you are going to do this. You have to believe that you have that grit to get through it. You know what I mean? And investing in yourself, man, like, you can't beat that.
So I'm gonna debate what you said earlier, because I don't know if I really agreed with it 100%. You said that anyone can be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Technically, yes. Right?
Yeah.
If you really put the work in, you can do it.
Yeah.
Right?
So where's the argument if it's technically yes?
But the argument is, I don't think that everyone can do it. I don't think that everyone has the stomach to do it. I think what you're talking about, believing in yourself, I don't think everyone believes in themselves.
That's true.
Taking that leap of faith, you got to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, it's just not going to work.
That's right.
And then when you sense failure or you fail, it's all over. And that's why I would lean towards not everyone could do it. Or it's not, everyone can do it, but it's not for everybody.
But everyone still could do it.
Everyone could do it.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, everyone could have a six-pack.
But that's what I'm saying. But it's possible. Yeah. So technically, it is possible. It's just that not everybody's going to do it. But everyone could do it. So
okay, so I don't want to throw out the false sense of security where people are like, yeah, everyone can do it. And then they quit their job and they're like, oh, crap.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, everyone could do it. But the path, the route, the plan, it's different for everyone. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have your own. It's one blueprint. It's not just for everyone. You know what I mean? And it's just it's just not gonna work for everyone. But you know what I mean? But you can do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can.
Because let's bring up some other factors here. Rocky relationships, right? So my wife could tell you, this dude's crazy. All the things he got me going and doing and supporting, and rocky relationships. The next one, maxed out credit cards. In the beginning, You're just over leveraged. You're not getting paid. You got to figure out what's going on. People that don't have that in them, right? Or don't see, we started at a young age. So we started in our early 20s. Hell, I flipped my first property at 19. So your mom was doing the stuff when you were young. So you kind of understood what all that stuff meant, that waiting to get paid, surviving, putting this money for an investment to get this. You understood that. But put yourself now making that move, and you don't really know those things. That's where I think a lot of the fear comes from. And
the average entrepreneur right now at this time right now is 39, about 40 years old.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. So we started young.
Yep.
Yeah. So that means that the Gary V's getting to those 60-year-olds. He's saying, hey, man, you're 60, you're in your prime. So loss of sleep, maxed out cards, rocky relationships, failure, all those things come into play. And we're going to go back to the beginning. Kind of the question is, when is it time to invest in yourself? When is it time? Right? And I think for you and me, our time came from moments. Yours was self-reflecting at the break room and saying, my mom's doing it. Influence. Mine came from knowing that someone just basically told me, you're not getting what you want here. So you're going to have to find it elsewhere. So that was my moment. Still at a young age. But if you're saying it's at 39, you have a lot of fear in you. You probably have kids. You probably have a mortgage or a big rent payment. When is the right time? What is our advice to these people?
I think the right time is now. And I say now, for whenever you're watching this, you know what I mean? Whenever that moment hits you, that's your now. You have to understand that there are, sacrifices. Like you mentioned, rocky relationships, maxed out credit cards, sleepless nights. Yeah, but you have to do it. You know what I mean? If you don't start, then it's just, you're never going to finish.
Yeah. And I don't want to be negative about it. I'm just trying to be realistic. Yeah, I agree with you. Right now is the time, because what's going to happen is you're going to get older and then think of the times when you should have done it.
Yep.
Right?
The older you get, the tougher it's going to be for you to let go, of what, you're so used to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But again, if you are going to let go of the 9 to 5, make sure that you have a plan. You know what I mean? Like, it's actually something that you enjoy, right? That it's worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then let's go back to believing in ourselves. So if you're going to make that move, you got to have the confidence. You got to have that Dame Dash in you.
That's right.
You got to have that nothing is going to get in my way. You have to have the support from your family.
Yeah.
So I liked how you mentioned that when your mom had to make her move, she sat down with you, the oldest of the 5 children, and then her husband.
Yep.
And you guys were in agreement for her to make that move. And the move wasn't to go off and do her own business. The move was kind of like a lateral, maybe even a lower position of what she was doing, because she was probably fine at the position she had.
Oh yeah.
And that's a big loss in income, and everyone, the other people have to pick up the slack.
100%.
So she goes and she becomes an employee of another company to learn the ropes, and then that's what gave her the ability to move on and do her own company. I think believing in yourself, having a plan, support from the family, those are like prerequisites. That needs to happen before you even make the move. Maybe even a little money in the bank, for security, because you might have kids, and you have to be realistic.
Yeah.
Just because you want to be like Dame Dash doesn't mean that you're going to be Dame Dash and you're still going to be able to flip this and get that. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So you got to be responsible. If you're in your 20s, go for it. That's what just go for it. Learn, fail, create, partner, whatever. Go for it. This is more for like advice for the 30-year-old or the 40-year-old.
Yeah.
Right? Or the 39-year-old. You're saying the averages.
Yep.
That you really have to have that confidence and belief in yourself, and know that those failures are not failures. Those failures are going to get you to the successes, and know that you can't give up.
That's right.
And like you always say, keep on trucking. You got to keep moving.
Yep.
And that's the time. The time is now.
Yeah, the time is now, man. Like you got to do it. You just can't. You can't sit back and just keep procrastinating on, I'm going to do it one day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do it one day.
And then even for people that are older.
Unless you're setting up a good plan that, your plan is to start at a certain date or a certain time because you're doing X, Y, and Z in preparation. But if you're just not starting because you're having that self-doubt,
mm-hmm.
that's different.
And also, if you are waiting until you get this certain thing, sometimes life happens and it prevents you from getting to that certain thing. So let's say something happens in the family and now you're needed, and now you can't devote your time and energy to a new business. You got to devote it to that family member or somebody, a friend. And that's how life works. So that's sometimes you got to think, hey, I got to be greedy. I got to do this now because this is for me. Because if not, you're going to live in regret. You're going to live in regret. So that is the time. The time is now to invest in yourself. Any closing thoughts?
Go for it. That's it.
Just do it.
Nike.
Yeah, we'll just say Nike. We'll just say Nike. I agree. Just go for it. Definitely have a plan. Know that it really isn't too late, because as long as you continue to live and can look back on years, you could have done it last year. You could have done it 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. If I didn't make that move at UPS at 23 years old, I would have been thinking about it. And maybe I would have made the move at 30, 35, whatever it is. But the faster you do it, the easier it is. And the less attachments you have. So you were a little different because you had kids. I didn't have kids. So my 20s, I really got to fail all the time and learn. And then in my 30s, I realized what I really wanted to do. And then in my 40s, I'm doing it. So yeah. I think everyone has their own journey, their own path. I'm not knocking anyone that's 50, 60, even 70. I think in all age brackets, you could do your thing. Why not? Why not? Why say that, I couldn't do it because of this? Do it. Inspire yourself, inspire others. Hell, if I saw a 70-year-old creating something, doing something, making something, you know what that would say to me? I want to be like that when I'm that age, right? I want to continue to move and create. And I think that that's what keeps your mind sharp. I know one person, friend of mine, Athena, her dad, we call him Mr. Coyce, but he is a property owner. He gotta be like, no joke, he gotta be pushing 90. Because when I knew him, when I was in like high school, he was like hitting 70. And sharp, dude. Dude has one eye. But that eye is better than my two eyes. Dude is sharp, and he is tight with that money. And he has a good little portfolio that, his legacy, what he's giving to his family. They're in a good position. And I'm sure he's still doing it to this day. I'm sure he's gotten slower. And just thinking about it, I got to visit him. Because he was another like mentor. I remember Mike and we were building a deck, and he'd be like, "That deck is too big. You're never going to get that money back. Deck is too big." And even to this day, me and Mike, we laugh. We're like, "Oh, man, that deck is too big." And he was right. We built a big deck. We were proud of it, but we didn't get our money back. So he was right. Don't invest in Florida. Don't invest in Florida. We invested, didn't get our money back. So even when you have a mentor telling you things and you're not listening, you listen. If you're smart, you listen even after the failure, and you say, "You know what? I'm not going to do that again." Because remember what Mr. Coy said? He was right. Remember what he said about the deck? He was right. Let's not make the deck big. So rambling on here, but definitely the time is now. Go for it. If you like what you're hearing, please give us a follow at StonePark Podcast. We are on all social platforms. If you want to connect with us directly, we have an email set up, connect@stonepark.com. Carlos, until next time, let's dream, build, connect.